Chief Administrative Officer.
That is Kao Marata speaking.
I'm grateful to the presenter and those are the views of the citizens. However, I have not heard her asking the community why is the environment changing or why do we do what we do to affect the environment. For my thinking is people are poor. They know and they have the knowledge about the changing environment. But what are the alternatives? How can we mitigate? Alternative sources of energy are very expensive. The gas, the electricity. Are we all connected on the grid? We are not. What is the alternative energy for preparing daily food? Is firewood and the rest of the charcoal. Secondly, when you look at our community, when we are encouraging land trees, what are the requirements? You need to have land. Do all people have access to land? You need entrepreneurship. Is that land being owned by the individuals that they can plant, or in WestNile area, lands which are communally owned? Can they put capital on a land where they don't have ownership? The local governments are there, the departments are there, and when you look at the major pillars, environment is talked about in the National Development Plan. But what is the funding? Environment officers can bear no witness here. How much money are they allocated in a year in order to mitigate the environment? It's less than 2 million per 3 months for the whole Department of Natural Resources. Which one is the mother of the Environmental Department? Is it the Ministry of Water and Environment? Is it the National Planning Authority? They don't belong to anyone, and what we use in the local government now is conditional grants, where money comes for a particular purpose. There is no money which can come for environment to handle this very important kind of business to mitigate the environment. Have we done the training? Is every tree species good for environment? Who is advising us on which kind of trees can be planted on a commercial basis, or some of the trees also increase on the environmental changes? All those are questions which we need to answer.
Thank you very much. I don't want to comment because the technical people are here, the environment officers are here. Yes, next.
Thank you so much. Let me start the MD. I'm called Degradation and the District Environment Officer of Policy. And I'm so up for this program, and I want to submit here that the presentation that I've just been presented really represents what is on ground. I think it was basically on evidence that what has been presented is what is on ground. I submit. And then I want to assure all of us here that climate change is a collective responsibility. It is me, it is you, it is God. When we meet together, or when we join our hands together, automatically we can fight this. And two, the use of mindset. You see, most of the responses these communities have been given are because of the what? They have that thing in their brain that those things are natural. And they can do anything to them at any time, and God will come and intervene. But when we look into their mindsets and we try to change their mindsets about how we can preserve or conserve this environment, depending that what, at the end of the day, we shall achieve a good earth. Then maybe concerning the issue of the causes of this environment or the climate change. For me, I look at it like in the aspect of the population growth. The population has grown too big to an extent that whatever is on the earth is not enough for us. Let me take an example for Koboko itself. We have refugees, we have very many refugees. The town is flooded with a lot of people, even the villages. Automatically, these people are looking into the natural resources to survive. And now because of the limited funding, as the coward said, it becomes very hard for us to intervene. Sometimes it will be 2 million, it will be 500,000, you can't do anything. Even if you talk to them, then what you just talk, but you can't implement anything because of the budget. I think I don't want to talk much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The house is listening. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Moderator, I want to thank the presenter for very constructive and eloquent presentation. And equally, I want to thank all those previously who gave us opening remarks, which was a beautiful benchmark to start this workshop. Let's go back to what many of us are looking at as the foundation of the subject today called climate change. In my opinion, God did his work and he did it very well from the perspective of the Bible and the Quran, where God created everything intact for 5 days and he created man to manage. And in my opinion, God was talking about climate change right from the beginning of creation. It looks as if it is the action of human beings who tampered with what gave to them to manage. And we have tampered with the nature of God, with the creation of God, which is called environment and climate change. And therefore, we should then now be actually solution to the problem we have created. In other words, I'm talking about who should take responsibility of degradation of environment. Should it be God, so that we go to pray when God had done his work? Shall we be doing justice to God? I think now it is our action that we should be able to use. An issue to address here is, Madam Presenter, I don't know where land degradation will come. There is, I think, a lot desired to be seen if climate change is to be addressed in the issue of land use by the citizens. Now, we were looking at tree planting, we are looking at other causes of climate change. In my opinion, the land use should be one of the issues that we should research on. A lot of our activities as far as agricultural production is based on a land. And yet nobody cares about how land should be productive, land should be fertile in order to give us give us an increased production and productivity. And I think that is one of the issues that we should be looking at in this very important workshop. Number 2, research. Are our activities that we are carrying out, both in central government and local government, based on research, are they research driven? Are our activities, agriculture, tree planting, whatever activities are done on the earth, are they research driven? Do we have research institutions like this? on which we base our investments in agriculture. That should be an issue we should be looking at. We have research institutions like universities. Are we making use of the university researches, because a university is one of the key institutions that should be a machinery for development in any given community? If we have universities, are we properly linked to these universities so that their research guides us in our development? Therefore, research for development. Are there researches for social development? Is there our social activities? First of all, research, and we have research guidance so that we're able to move according to research. That should be one of the issues we should be looking at in this very important workshop, which opportunity is being availed to us. I want to end up. One of the issues is culture. I am a defender of culture. When we were looking after animals, when our people used to do hunting, there are certain actually trees, vegetation that people depend on. A case in point is, in looking after animals, we will eat certain fruit, berries called uchiki. We will eat fruit like iripako. We will eat fruit like ogo. Are we planting trees that are in the interest of the youth, so that youth are interested in planting traditional cultural trees which their grandparents have been eaten in the bush, now they are able to transform them at home and domesticate them? Are we doing this so that we have a lineage from culture to modernity? You see, we should link modernization to culture. And that's what God gave to us. Is that is happening? Or are we suspended in the air so that we are doing tree planting because the government has told us to do tree planting without capturing the interests of the citizen? Now, above all, are we addressing human basic needs? Human basic need, one, is a shelter. Are people growing knowing that somebody deserves a shelter and must grow? When your child, your boy is grown up at the age of 18, is he ready to construct? Is he ready to get food in that house? These are the basic needs we have. Are people addressing the basic needs? Shelter, food, water, health, education, which actually we have been growing with from culture. Because it is culture, the language, from where you got your first intelligence.
Thank you so much. The discussion continues. I heard something about culture. So the cultural leader also is here. Maybe he has something to say on this and is going to add on what our brother has said. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm going to mix my speech with questions.
Which is okay.
So you will say helpful. One, let me begin with thanking you. Your organization is doing good thing for our life, the life of Uganda, which is almost forgotten, which people look down upon. So the thanks go to you, because you are reawakening us. I want to say this. As I am astonished, and your organization, to me, looks like something or an organization which is coming for my life and my people's life. To me, our life is nearly forgotten. We don't know who is responsible for our lives now. Because when you talk about weather, primitively we are seeing danger, but we cannot do much. We want people like you to come up. Because now our Uganda here is based on I. We has gone away. How do you individually do much for yourself and your country? You can't. And therefore, that's why I thank you. Now let me go ahead for my observations. As we see danger of climate with our naked eyes, with our primitive thinking, we wonder, and then we give up that thing is coming to finish us. So thank you for awakening us. Because we don't have united effort, power, effort to do things. Our unity is broken. Because my leader says I. My representative is my master, doesn't help me. He's all searching for himself. So, because we are just depending on history and what we learned before. According to my culture, Lobara, we were well brought up, prepared for eventualities. We knew seasons when we should prepare garden for food. Which products, many food plants should come first. We knew this. We were well organized about that. Because it has been our elder who will always remind us that this season is coming, let everybody do this. The teaching goes to small children and everybody is aware, preparing for eventuality, preparing for life. So, we must now be careful. I'm grateful to President Museveni, who has brought the whole organization of cultural institutions back. We know we are going to compete with you. Because for all these years, several years, Uganda is sleeping. We are so asleep that we cannot see the danger coming. It is really a great pleasure that this organization takes its lead. I know organization and government are different. They do what they can. But when it comes near government, they may decide different things and they stop us. Because theirs is the power. I'm very sorry about northern Uganda. Northern Uganda is already heading for air from the desert and the wind from the desert, which will soon change Northern Uganda. That's why we have this denser weather changing. That's why we have denser of rainy seasons changing. Unfortunately, we the illiterate Ugandans depend on God. It is true God created you. He created you all completely. Did he leave something behind? Now, when you continue depending on God, when he has given you everything, which you cannot see, how long are you going to depend? You see, religiously, we must know that there is an end to life. And this end will come. God says it will come. But they say in the future it will change and the people will be better. That's why we're keeping driving to unknown. But teaching message says you must begin from known to unknown. So as Ugandans of Northern Uganda, should we depend on God? Seeing this thing next year to Sudan, the air always comes. And do you see these days, when the year is ending, you see something white blowing to us? Are you doing something already? I'm sorry to say, we continue to learn. We have graduates, we have learned people. But this learning of European, you finish class, you say you are complete. Come back to drink. What are you doing for your people? Who has invented anything in Uganda here? Always reading somebody's mind. Thank you very much, this organization.
Yeah.
You are widening
True.
our vision.
True.
Instead of waiting to say, somebody should do something for me. As there were useless children, something a little not there, give me something little, they call it. Share this. And they were encouraging it.
Thank you.
They have wasted all the time going to sit by the road, trying to fly like a bird sitting in a tree. This is completely very unfortunate. You see, knowledge, once when I was in school, I was taught that in some regions on earth, rain does not fall. But the people who there eat.
True.
They have food. Now, imagining something is coming, you already worried. Instead of preparing for yourself. What do you do in the place of the rain? You say God is giving rain on. How long are we going to bother Him? Egypt lives on irrigation with the water from you. You leave this water run. What do you do yourselves in Uganda to prepare for your eventuality? I will be very proud all the men dying in peace when I hear now we are inventing, or we are already digging what? water for irrigation. During the dry season in Arua, you go looking for vegetable, waiting for rain. When we have plenty of water, we have plenty of waterfalls in Uganda. Today we are saying no power. I think Ugandans think little. I'm sorry to insult you. But I think it is necessary for you people to work hard. To end up with, let me say, the connection of people who are government with the so-called government already. It's not there. MP you elect goes for himself, for good, doesn't plan for you. Why is it difficult to use money to teach us irrigation in order to stop this bad coming air in the desert? So that we don't care whether God gives us rain, but we are also ourselves able. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
A senior teacher.
Actually, his comments leave us speechless. That's what. They are saying a lot.
Yeah.
And you have learned a lot. That's what I'm saying. If you have come here, you will go. That's our lesson today. You will not have attended this meeting. So can we continue with another person to study on the same? This one will be also from the RDC.
Thank you so much, the organizers of this workshop. I want to appreciate the ARCOD and Twaweza for this wonderful workshop. These days, people have forgotten about the environment, and yet people live within environment. I am really shocked that such a museum can still have such ideas and information. I never expected. We really need to pray that such elder people should be amongst us. Thank you so much, Muse, for that information. I also want to appreciate the veteran politician Under Mariche Ferua, the former L5 chairman of Greater Arua. The issue of climate change is a collective responsibility of every citizen in this country. But I am really surprised of what is happening within the country. For example, people are cutting. There is this all the type of tree called the Avizelian africana, what we call locally here milli.
Milio.
A million. I don't know where they have got the marketing. People are coming from central, from where, even the Indians and so on, they have come to, they have flooded WestNile, up the border towards the Sudan. Destroying these Avizelian africana trees, which have been existed more than even 200 to 300 years. At times 1 million can be 2 meters in diameter. But this time you cannot see them. The government, in the other hand, is saying we should protect what? Environment. Even recently, the president has issued us instructions and the documents to make sure that we protect the wetlands. I know the district cows and so on, you are aware. why should it only be the wetlands? It must be in a broader perspective. As the president is advocating to do that, some big people within the government are coming to destroy our environment by cutting these huge trees, logs, and poles within the WestNile region. Not even within WestNile alone, in the entire northern Uganda. These are people, they are untouchables at the times when the environmental officer, the forest officer is trying to say, what is this you are doing? These people produce a document you will not touch. Others are from the ministries. You start wondering, what is this we are doing? Is the government divided into two? In the other hands, they are giving different instructions. Then somewhere here, some big people in the government are also doing different things. You fail to implement, you fail to enforce. At times there's an RDC, you start wondering what is this which is happening. Your hands become tight. So as it is not just a matter of talking it, but the enforcement should be done by the government. The policy guideline must start from the parliament and then it comes down here. Even people have been talking about caveras. We're not supposed to use the sachet cavera for carrying things. It starts again, people start using it. As others are campaigning against it, then others are producing. You start wondering exactly what is happening. Why are people taking the account? No. So it is so contradicting. ARCOD and Twaweza, we are supporting you, we are behind you. But our energy may not be enough, we may not have that level of the power. The workshop is good, but there are some people, even within the local government, who are selling charcoals. You see lorries going to Kampala, loaded with the charcoals, you start wondering, which one is this? They will tell you this belongs to so and so. People who are within with the titles are the ones doing this. In pretense using some minor people, even others use the names of women. But carrying bags of charcoals, 100, 200 bags, it goes to Central. Others are taking to Ginger. So, what should we do is the question. We should not only focus on the problem, but the solution. What is the solution? What is the way forward? What should we do? I was thinking, let the district local governments have ordinance, by law, to restrict cutting of the trees locally here. Because that bigger law we have has issues. But at the district level, let us have some bylaw to regulate usage of our environment. And then the DPCs can enforce, the RDC can say, please, let us enforce this bylaw at the district. When these people come with their vehicles, if I have such a bylaw, I can say, please, this truck will not go. That big person of yours, we want to see him. That one can happen. By the time these people come, they enter in the office of the forest officer, they make their internal discussions there. They enter the bush at night, you just realize the truck is now leaving the district, heading to Kampala when it has loaded what? That is big tree. The logs. You start to wonder, why are they destroying our environment? So the media, I want to appreciate you so much for capturing information from such elder people, and we should give this information out. It has to, well, such a museum, you see, he is crying. Those who are saying we should leave ourselves to God, I think they have lost the direction. They don't know where to go. These are so desperate people who do not want to work. God is there. He will always be there. He has done his part. What is remaining is us. Leave yourself to God to treat you when you are sick. Don't go to the clinic, we see. I don't know what kind of brain do we have. Please, we are going to be behind you. We need to plant trees. If a person cuts a tree, he's supposed to plant like 2-3 trees. If we can put that, then we shall achieve. And those people who are mining sand next to river banks, these people have already made the rivers to dry up. I don't know who is supposed to regulate these people who are doing mining of sands and so on. If you go to Inyao River, the place has widened itself, but there is no water. You just see the valley is continuing, you know. Eh? If you go to around Buruda, you see what is happening. People are dying, but they are not listening. People keep on cutting what? Trees. The enforcement is not enough. Government should take a deliberate action against those who are not listening. People must go to prison. We need to arrest people. And two, let also government reduce the cost of fuel. I mean the gas. Alternatively, we could say people should use what? Gas. But the price is abnormal. People cannot afford. If the cost for the gas would be as little as a bag of charcoal, that can serve at least a period of 1 month. People can resort using gas instead of going for charcoal. Then we start now enforcing. Eh? But the prices, you cannot, even an RDC cannot afford the gas, I'm telling you. It's very expensive. So whether you are trying to enforce it at night, someone brings for you charcoal, you will buy. That is the fact. So it is not only about the talking it, but the action plan. Eh? You see an MP even carrying a bag of charcoal in easy, but in Parliament he is talking about the laws to reduce the what? Destruction of the environment. But he's carrying behind his pickup charcoals. He doesn't bother where this charcoal has come from. Kumbe, people are destroying the environment. I want to say to you so much for this. I think that's a bit of my input. And let us work together and we make sure that we should not talk to sugarcoat. We talk exactly what is happening. Government is not doing enough.
Talking is
Much as an RDCs, we are trying our level best, but there are some people who feel they are bigger than RDCs. They come from Kampala with the trailers, lorries to destroy the environment. They go with the logs, trees, charcoals, with even letters signed from the ministry and so on. And someone may not even be ready to avail you with the paper. He will show you like this is my paper, what do you want? So, there is something which is not okay, it is happening, but we must dig where the source is. Thank you so much.
It's in the point of that tree the RDC is talking about happened on Mount Wati.
They present Africans.
Yeah, Mount Wati is the place where I am born. And that is the place where slaves used to be hidden by Arabs. That mountain has got 42 mountain ranges, small hills. There have been those trees since God created them until last year, actually this year in April, where people came with the cranes and the graders and went up the mountain, armed. And they fell over 20 of those trees and brought them to Mount Irewa Primary School. I was informed on this in Arua City. I had to drive there. I disarmed 3 people who were armed to threaten people. And that is the kind of scenario we are having in WestNile. That is just one case out of several of them. These kind of actions are happening on Mount K, on Mount Mitiko, on Mount Wati, on Mount Luku, all these places, because these tree species exist there. This is unacceptable. There is a central government responsibility, local government responsibility, CSOs, and all these communities, including religious leaders. And I think if these stakeholders work together, we shall fight climate change. But if all of them act separately, and they talk and they talk and they talk and they talk, the media is always repeating and acting nothing, climate change will cause WestNile to perish.
Are we okay? Yes, we have a 1 hour, 20-minute session with environment officers that we invited, and we're glad that most of them have taken their seats here. Basically, we want to have a perspective, an understanding. The heat is on in the discussions here. People are talking about WestNile, we are threat. If we don't do anything, we're going to perish. The research findings were clear. The citizens' perception about climate crisis or climate change. These are the key persons we have in the local government, and most of us get our services from the local government. And from the discussions here, the talk has been, government needs to do more. So we want to find it through their understanding, what more we can do. So basically, the outcome of this discussion, we have talked. We need actions. What can we do? We have talked, yes, temperatures are high, the seasons are shorter. What can we do as through the eyes of the key persons? So we'll begin with introductions. Perhaps most of you have forgotten their names. I'll request the guests to introduce themselves, who they are, and of course, before we can answer in. Let me start from the extreme end there. You tell us your name and the position that you present. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
By name Jackson Zabuko, and the Natural Resource Officer, and the Assistant Forest Officer.
Okay.
Marata District.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jackson. Then we have our colleague here.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm called Adeke Wadri, and I'm the District Environment Officer of Koboko District Local Government.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Asek Slade, City Environment Officer.
Okay. Now our panel is set, and we're going to have a discussion. This is an area that you people deal in. We had in the discussions that the climate crisis is real, the heat is on. So my first question to you is, whose responsibility? And have we been playing that responsibility, the who that we're talking about? Let's start with you, Koboko District, please. Share your thought.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Actually, as I stated earlier, I said the environment, to protect our environment is my responsibility, it is your responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility. Because if we leave it to the district itself, I know we are not going to achieve much. But when we sit down and we come up, we put our heads together, we find that we can achieve a good environment. And as I've stated, it is our collective responsibility.
Have we been doing that?
And as a district, more especially Koboko, we have been, one, creating awareness for the public to know that the environment is my responsibility, your responsibility, and everyone's responsibility. Then the second thing we have been doing is we have been supporting the communities in terms of provision of tree seedlings for them to plant. To just tell them that they should what? They should plant trees after they have cut, or they should stop cutting the trees. And then also we looked at the weather. The weather had been, when you compare, as our grandfather said, previously the climate used to be friendly to human. But when you look right now, like for us WestNile, we used to have 2 seasons. But now the season has changed. And even this is December. Those years we used to have, by this time it's already dry season. But now we are still expecting rain. What does that one show? Means the climate has changed. So for that, we do tell the community, we have the Uganda National Meteorological Authority that give us information about the weather forecast every 2 months. So what we do is we also go to the radio station. We have Spirit FM in Kopoko. We do create awareness to the public about the weather forecast. Probably for people who are doing agriculture, how they're going to post-harvest their, handle their products. Then those people who are going into business, what they're supposed to do. So basically that's what we do. Then also because of this climate change itself, we came to realize that now the level of disasters have gone very high. Like the hailstorms, we do experience them. I know even some of the districts within the WestNile, they have been experiencing the hailstorm. And as a district, we created a district disaster management committee. That committee oversees any disaster that happens within the town or within the district. Because as I said earlier, we have the refugees who are with us, and they need to be helped. So when those disasters happen, we have to go back on ground, and we do what? We support them. Then how do you get our funding for supporting the affected person? We have some partners within the district. We call them for a meeting, we sit down, we say, let's join our hands together to fight this. The climate change, we need to be working together. If you're going for your programs, you put in tree planting, you create awareness, you do this, you do that. So I think with that, we are seeing a greater change within Oboko district.
Okay. Thank you very much. You can take your seats. Let's have a feel of how it is like in the city. Citizens look at local governments. Local governments look at central governments, and by the virtue that we have refugees here, the element of the implementing partners come whenever they want to undertake issues of tree planting and also other interventions to mitigate the climate crisis. What responsibility is from the elaborations? We all have a role to play. Citizens, local governments. Have we been playing those roles, especially as our city?
Well, what my colleague from Boko mentioned is what is happening in mostly local governments. We in the local governments, we have the plans, we have the policies, the policy on climate change, we have it. We have the regulations to enforce some of these things. But the major challenge of the local government is funding for the activities. The local governments cannot organize this kind of functions to send a message to the people. Oh dear. That is the major problem. You know, the natural resource sector, my colleagues will tell you, there are those who are refugee hosting. At least they have access to cover for what the refugees are causing. And then the other local governments, they don't have access to resources in order to implement the activities that are planned. As a city, we have an action plan for climate change, but we have never even implemented part of it. And it's just because of resources. And where we are coming from, we are a municipality, and we have no grants from central government. We totally depend on local revenue. And our leaders, we struggle with our leaders for the resources which we have available. So So the priority always goes to. And one other challenge we have with the climate change issues is, there's that challenge, I don't know whether it has been taken into consideration. We have issues of climate change. Most of them, if you put a project on climate change, the project cannot be realized within 10 years. It may need more years. And for our people to invest in this number of years, when their term is only 5 years, it is a problem. So when you talk of issues which you want people in the WestNile region to experience for the next 40 years, I think no one will support that.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I'll come to you. Thank you very much. You mentioned the issue of funding, and we got it from the discussion. And this has been an issue. Why is it hard to increase funding? Who is supposed to allocate funding for the Environment Office or Department such that we leave this talk? What is the challenge still? If we're still lamenting about funding the 2.5 million or the 2 million in the whole financial year, who is supposed to do that?
Well, we are coming from a municipality. We just became a city in 2000, and we are now in 2 years, we are making 2 years and a half. But we are still operating using the other system. These are local cities. We are operating using the other system where you have only local revenue to fund your activities. That is where we are.
That's true.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want to bring in for now, our Environment Officer for Maracha District, because you came here in his or her capacity. Before we go into solutions, what are the main threats of climate change? You can talk from the perspective of the district and also WestNile being interconnected. It's better to give us the threats that we have of climate change in this region. You're most welcome.
The major climate change effect, especially Maracha, we have cutting down of trees and planting a tree species which is not good for the climate or the land, especially eucalyptus. Maracha is based on eucalyptus tree species, of which eucalyptus takes a lot of water. A 1 eucalyptus tree especially takes 20 liters of water. This is a stand of eucalyptus. And the sand mining, especially in Maracha. Most of this development in the towns, they get their sand from Maracha. These big trees, which carries like 8 to 10 tons of sand, they are all in Maracha, getting the sand there, of which we need regulations for this. The fund itself, the fund which is allocated for the natural resource, it's too little. It cannot do anything for the address of this climate change.
How should we increase it? It's little.
Especially in other departments from the ministry, their fund is a bit wider from the beginning from the ministry. But in natural resource department itself, the fund, I don't know whether it is depending from the where respectively ministries. Because you can see departments like health, like agriculture, their funds, there's something to do at the sub-county levels, at the village levels, at the parish levels. they have there. And even the staffing itself for the natural resources, their system for the staffing, it's a bit a problem.
How is it right now?
Especially you may have environment office who is at the district level, handle the whole district. If the ministry or if there's a system created at the sub-county levels, at the sub-county level, it lists some staff from sub-county, one person from the sub-county level supporting natural resource, and they oversee what is happening with the natural resource from the parishes. It will also be better for the system to support the natural resource.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. And it's getting interesting. We're just setting the basis for us to understand where the problem is. We know the problems, the issues of money, it's point the issue of staffing, which really will help us in what can we do later on. But let me get back to you, the environment officer for Boko. How has this affected us? Especially, I want us to put into perspective our farms and also our foods. You found from the reports, the yields are declining every time. Actually, most people in the region are giving up on farming. But how does this crisis that we have at hand, how is it affecting our farms and also the food that we produce? You can sit, you help our guys in the media so that they don't keep moving. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. Actually, the effects of climate change had really had a very bad story. The first one is that, you see, those days we used to have a range of food in terms of, like for us, our staple food is cassava. Yeah. But when you look at cassava right now, most of the cassava we eat in town come from Soroti. Meaning, the soils have lost their fertility. They no longer provide the fertility that it used to be for producing cassava.
True.
That's the first thing. Then two, this climate change had really brought high levels of poverty within the people. Because you can now dig and you don't get the yields the way you used to. And it had caused what? A lot of poverty within, among the households. And then the level of malnutrition within the hospitals. Also, because of the climate change. You find that, let's first take, in terms of the rises in temperature, you find that during the day it's too hot, then at night it's sometimes very cold, and that one invites more sicknesses into the body. I think if the medical workers are here, they can testify for us. Then also in the malnutrition aspect, you find that the kids don't have enough to eat, and at the end of the day, they become malnourished. And let me give you a typical example of Koboko. Last week we were from the hospital and we visited the malnutrition section and we find that there are very many kids there that have been malnourished or put in in feeding. That's all because of the limited food that comes from the food. Then the level of the rains itself. The rains have really dropped because previously we used to have a lot of rains and also the temperatures are not too much, but now when you compare the rains of nowadays and the ones before, you find that there's a great change, and which had also affected the whole system. I think basically that's what I can add on that.
Okay, thank you. And one of the issues raised by one of our opinion leaders, we got from the report that citizens actually identified tree planting as one of the key interventions if we are to reverse. And there was an issue that we have in WestNile, which is grave, which is affecting people from taking on tree planting activities. He mentioned issue of land fragmentation, where land is being divided into small plots which cannot allow us, in any case, to plant trees. People would prefer to leave the little land to plant food crops and all these things. How do we move around? Yes, the citizens are saying tree planting can take us to the promised land, so that if some of us grow old, we will not fear because we have a shed where we can sit under and enjoy as we see our great-grandchildren growing up. How do we move around to make sure this message of tree planting is taken up amidst the challenge we have of land fragmentation and other challenges which could also be issues of mindset change? Let me start with you, the environment officer for Arua City. You can respond while sitting.
Thank you very much. For us in the city, we normally take the opportunity of any forum and we disseminate information about climate change, especially what people can listen to in order to mitigate the impact of climate change. We normally talk about tree planting, and as council, we also participate in planting trees, avenue plant. We do plant trees along our roads, and even in our program for our city's expansion, we have where we are planning to have the roads, where we are planning to have roads in the city. We are looking for money in order to survey those roads, and then we put trees along those roads to tell people that in future these roads are going to pass here. We want to use trees in order to tell people where the roads are going to pass. And recently we had a program of urban cash where government was testing whether people can receive money and then they do work for the government. And in that program we had the greening of our schools. Around 11 schools had a program of greening. They do landscaping, they plant grass, they plant trees and flowers in the schools, and it has worked very well. So we are trying our best. Once we get an opportunity, we do those things. But the other issue is, you know, in town, in Arua City here, maybe it's the highest consumer of firewood and charcoal in the region. And our people who are consuming these things don't know about how they can sustainably use what they have, how they can reduce the costs, the money they waste in purchasing firewood or charcoal. There are technologies which people can use in order to reduce the amount of charcoal or fuel they use in cooking. And even like these lights here. These lights we should be having, we should be using natural light. This is what the committee could have learned from even as we are here. These are things which we are supposed to ensure that we use energy sustainable, such that the effect on climate change is a bit mitigated. Much of this thing is from these industrialized countries, but we can do our part. We have a case here. I think people from Terego will testify if they are here. We had a season where there was only rain in the city. But people here were growing crops. And then in our neighborhood here, there was totally no rain. And the advantage we have is the few trees we have, which is attracting the rain. So if people could at least get informed, the issue here is people getting informed and they appreciate the problem. If people get informed and they appreciate the problems, I think people will do something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We have talked yesterday, and we need to get into the action. You're a leader at the Environment Office. I want us to be practical here. As leaders, what can we do? I think it's not what we're supposed to do now. What can we do? The temperatures are hotter, the seasons are becoming shorter, the natural calamities, they are evident. This year people are crying in Arua City because of floods, something that we were not used to experiencing. Much as we enjoy reading stories of natural disasters in other places, if we don't act now, it may reach to us. So, as leaders, I want each one to have 2 minutes. What can we do as leaders? I will start with Maracha District. practical solution, what we can do as leaders, before we can switch to the citizens. What do we need to do as citizens? Thank you.
Thank you. We can do some tree planting activity by teaching or educating the communities. We can regulate, we can enforce actions on the tree cutting activities, deforestation. We can do some activities like sensitizing the communities on the different species of which are relatively friendly to the climate and the environment. And what are these species? Species like ARCOD, Nigeria, pine, and so on, especially in Maracha.
Okay, on money, at least I know in the local government leaders are very key in allocation of resources. It may not be the taken, but we are looking at leaders then. We identified an issue of money. What can we do? Do we need to change our priorities? Since issues of climate change are cross-cutting, what can we do? Each year, financial year, it's still the same budget. What can we do in your own understanding? Yes. Okay, other officer can respond. We're looking at solutions from the perspective of leaders. Let me come to you, Paul.
Okay, thank you so much. The first solution that as an environment officer I could think of is we should now move from the ordinary way of farming to climate smart agriculture, whereby you integrate, you bring the aspect of agroforestry. While while you're cultivating your crops, automatically the trees are also growing. By the time you leave the land for the trees to grow, to get now when the trees are already mature, you can harvest, then you will do the same planting. That's the first thing. Then two, I know each district has environmental ordinance, and most of the ordinances are not disseminated. And even Koboko has the ordinance, but it's not disseminated. And as a solution, you can say that that ordinance needs to be disseminated so that people will be aware and be maybe handled based on the what? On the ordinance. And then for the wetlands, we need to do buffer zone demarcation. When we demarcate these buffer zones, we shall tell the community, the no-go zones, that from the wetland to where the pillar is, you're not supposed to do any activity around here apart from tree planting. And then the awareness creation has to continue, whether in churches, mosques, in any place about the climate change. When we keep telling people, our children, the newborn ones, about the climate change, at the end of the day, at least we can achieve a percentage in terms of what? Preserving the climate or the environment, sorry. Then as a district, we need to have early warning signs. When you have these early warning signs, we can be able to tell the community that maybe in the next 4 or 5 months, the level of rain or the amount of rain is going to reduce so that actions can be taken before it worsens. Then for the issue of funding, I know it is not only in WestNile, even let me say the whole country. Then as a district, as WestNile, like for example, Koboko, as I told you, we have partners, we do lobby. We lobby for funds from these partners. I know the district has a very big, small budget, a limited budget for environment, but because of the lobbyings we have, or when we do lobbying, automatically there is some 1 or 2 people can come to the rescue and we find that at the end of the day, we can handle the issue of funding. I want to give an example with UNHCR. We had been partnering with UNHCR to raise seedlings, free seedlings for the community. And we saw that it had worked very well. With that small budget we have, plus the one they have given us, we have raised a number of seedlings that any community member within Koboko can go and pick, go and plant anywhere within the district. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. Can we clap for these people? We are getting into finding solutions. Many are coming. I hope we are taking notes and going back to implement. That is what will bring change. Let me wind down with you on, apart from these interventions that your colleague has raised, is there anything as leaders, is there anything apart from the sensitization, demarcation of the buffer zones that you talked about, and of course, the partnership, looking for partnerships to address the issue of funding. Is there anything that we can do as leaders to make sure we change the narrative? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In the city, what we are facing is the problem of unsustainable resource use, and particularly, I would say the charcoal, the firewood, and whatever. You know, all these things come from the neighborhood. And our activities in the city deplete the resources we have in the neighborhood. And we needed to have some data on how much of the charcoal and firewood is consumed in the city. We need that data. And this data will now help us to inform the people how much the pressure they are putting on the environment. And once people appreciate that, even our now political leaders will now work against what is happening in order to make sure that at least some trees are planted, people will reduce the rate at which they are consuming these resources, and eventually we shall be able to mitigate some of the effects of climate change. That is one area. Another issue is the people who are staying in this fragile ecosystem. We have in the town people, because they don't have the land, they normally go to these fragile ecosystems, the wetlands and whatever. Like my colleagues say, we need to demarcate all this, but okay, on the ground the ministry helped us to demarcate portions of our major river here now. But then we needed to go more, and we include these small streams which we have. We need to protect them because there are ecological services which are offered by them, which we need to make sure that we sustain. Those are the areas. Majorly, like even the data collection will need money. I don't know whether Twaweza can help us also from the surveys they are undertaking. They also help us in data collection. Which data we shall use to inform the community. And you know, if you talk from the background of knowledge, it will help a lot. And people will be judging themselves whether they are improving or they are not improving from the data collected.
Okay.
So it's a major thing which we needed in order to even convince people to fund our activities. Thank you.
Okay, how about the citizens? We have talked about the leaders. We stated it clearly, it's a responsibility of everyone. And one key, actually, stakeholder, if you saw from the research, they are all making sure the situation is reversed. What can they do to stop this issue, or to reverse, or to mitigate the crisis we're facing? Let me start with you, then we'll move the other direction.
Yeah, thank you very much. There are a lot of things people can do. As already mentioned, the tree planting element, and these activities, even our lifestyle. You know, this meat we eat also has an impact on the climate change, because where they are producing, the activities cause a lot of, they emit a lot of greenhouse gases. And the simple things of putting off light when there is sunlight, natural light. All those simple things. Only that people need to be informed. But how do we get people informed? How do we get people informed? That is the major challenge we have. Once people know about these things, they will appreciate and definitely they will act.
Okay, over to you. How do we get people involved or informed? This means one, speaking to the mindsets. What can our citizens do differently? The key stakeholders in this, amidst the growing need for urbanization, thank God Arua is a city, and if we don't do anything, we may not have trees. Because we want buildings, one high buildings, beautiful buildings that we can see. What can we do as citizens differently? You're most welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. As citizens, the first thing they have to do is to change their mindset of thinking that the natural resources belongs to maybe the government or God. Once they change that mindset and do believe that the natural resources belongs to the citizens of Uganda, I think that would be a milestone for everyone within the country. Then the second thing is that when projects come, more especially those projects that lead to environmental conservation, if the piece of land is there, let them not hesitate to give the land so that the trees are planted and they will be of benefit to them. Then three, those people who have knowledge about environmental conservation should not just sit down, should also tell the other to preach the message to those who don't know about environmental conservation. I think those are the three basics.
Okay, any supplement from you before we move into something a little bit before winding out? Yes, if there's a supplement on the role of the citizens, what can we do? You will add it also.
Thank you. The citizens should be allocated some money by such organizations or from the respective ministries to support and to do these activities.
The activities of tree planting,
Activities of tree planting, buffering, and the rest of it.
can that work out? Can that be a magic for us? And people not end up using the money for other things? And, of course, as business as usual, I mean, how best can we do that? Yes, it's a strategy. How best do you think we can do that? Because many organizations are doing that. Then there's settlements, trees, once you plant a tree, there's a project. So how best do you think we can do that? Okay? It's not hard. How best can we do that so that people don't end up misusing the money if we are to take on that intervention, allocating money to the citizens, as you say? How best can we do that? I'm just trying to make it
through the environment office or natural resource office, of which they are spend this money to fund some citizens and give them to them.
Okay. But as district, do we have specific budget for climate crisis? Do we have that?
No.
Actually, for example, Koboko, we have a budget for wetland restoration, which is a bit it's not much, but it is just directed or zeroed down to the aspect of awareness question to the public about how the wetlands can be managed and how to move away from the wetland. That's basically the small budget that is there for the district.
Okay. How about for other districts? Do we have budget for climate crisis?
Thank you, Chair. I mentioned that we have a climate action plan. to receive. But what we have, for the local revenue we have activities of environment management. Some of them are climate change related. But for this climate action plan, we don't have money. We are yet looking for money in order to implement the activities of climate change. We are having a program, ecosystem-based adaptation project on WestNile, which is also intended to address some of those, intended to have mitigation measures for some of those activities that are degrading the river, and they are also related to climate change. So we have that program which is implemented by the ministry. It's going to be launched next week. They have been sensitizing people on how to manage their wetlands and trying to, they even collected data on the community that are vulnerable to the problems along the river. They collected data on that, and next week we are going to have the launch of the program. And maybe this is also information for our media in the region. Next week we have in that program. It is related, it has relationship with issues of climate change mitigation. Yeah.
Okay,
but it's implemented by the ministry.
Thank you very much. From our discussions, much of the talk is about tree cutting. Are there no any other causes that we have here in the region that perhaps would be of interest that we need to address, especially when it comes to issues of climate change? I wanted the environment officer for Komoko to highlight, are there no any other causes other than tree planting? You could add that, then we move out to wind out with some key interventions. Yes,
thank you. Maybe apart from tree cutting, some of the issues that had led to climate change are, one of them is the poor methods of farming, which is mostly, I will rate it the first among, before even the tree planting. Because when you look at farming, it involves tree cutting, it involves destroying the soil surface, it involves a lot of things. So farming happens to be one of the causes of climate change. Then two, I told you the what, as I've said before, the pressure from the population had led to the cause of climate change, because everyone's looking into the natural resources to survive. And I give you a case of Koboko, where we have the refugees and the host communities. We have refugees from Congo and South Sudan, all within Koboko, and because of that, the population has grown big, and people are entering into the wetlands, cutting down trees to make sure that they survive. Then the third one is the aspect of logs transportation. I know it's related to cutting down the trees, but when you look at the law that governs transportation of this wetland of these logs, it is not put into action. That's why you find that people cut and they transport. So if that law is there, it will work very well. Then maybe apart from tree planting, the other interventions that we mentioned earlier, the aspect of the early warning signs, the demarcations, the action plans, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for elaborating your intervention into poor farming methods. What happens if we don't do anything about climate change? What happens? This is all of you. If we don't do anything.
Okay, let me start. Maybe if we don't if we don't do anything concerning climate change, what I'm saying is that one, we are going to lose all our wetlands or water surfaces, because most of the water surfaces, if you compare them from the previous and the ones of today, you find that they've lost the depth, and they are silting, or the siltation is too much right now. So if we don't do anything, automatically we are going to lose our water surfaces or our waters. Then the issue of desertification comes in. Our grandfather said there are some hot winds that come from the other side. Automatically, if we don't open our eyes, we find that we shall be in a desert one day, one time. If not us, our children are going to be in a desert. We are not going to have rains, and we may even stop seeing rains if we don't do something about the climate change. Okay.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
I want to just add to what he has said. You know, the vicious cycle of poverty will also continue. You know, this climate change impacts mostly those who are at a certain level of poverty, because they don't have the food available, and because of that they eat foods that are of low value, low nutrition, and that one also causes them to be, they call it, there's that health term. They are affected commonly with those diseases because their immune system, because of the food they are eating, the diseases affect them, and they cannot treat themselves well, and then there is that cycle which affects them. And also the issue of I would say, the resources becoming not available for everyone. Those who are now at a higher level, the production will now reduce because the climate change will impact on the production activities. The weather patterns will change. The floods will also come, we will be sweeping those who are in the fragile ecosystem, the areas where we don't expect them. And those ones will just continue eventually, maybe after 50 or 60 years. Human beings will be frightened.
Well, we don't want to reach there. That's why we need to make commitments. Is there any supplement on what if we do nothing? We continue staying, continue producing. When we get money, we buy plots, we build houses, we continue allowing our trucks, all the trucks to go to wherever they're going with those big trucks. I mean big loads. Anything we lose.
Thank you. If we don't do much on climate change, we are going to also cause poverty through where we use trees, where we use other things. It may need, especially if you want to construct a house, if you don't have the tree, if you don't plant tree, it may need metals, of which you don't have that money to go up to that extent of doing some welding of when you are roofing.
Okay, now we're winding up. One final activity that we need to do with the commitment. Yes. What are we bringing on table? What are we going to do? We'll start with the local district. Yes, we've seen a lot of things happening. We've talked, we've known the causes, we know what we need to do, what are our commitments. Let me start with you.
Okay, thank you so much. As an environment officer for Koboko, the first commitment I'm pledging here is that we are going to demarcate our wetlands. And as I talk to you right now, we have started sensitizing, awareness creation, and after the awareness creation, we are going to start putting the pillars for the 30 meters buffer zone for all the wetlands within the district. Then too, our local communities still do believe that the buffer zone is their property, or it's their land. So our aspect of demarcation is going to affect them, and what we did was, or what we are going to do is, we are going to provide them with some small livelihood activities, like beekeeping, which is friendly to maybe the ecosystem. Then you have fish farming and the fruit tree planting within homestays. That's the first commitment that is already in the process. As I talk to you right now, it is going on. Then the second commitment is to go and disseminate, look for possible ways to disseminate the environmental ordinance, because it is that guiding tool that will help us protect the environment. Then the issue of funding, I will still continue lobbying, whether from the ministry, whether from the NGOs, whether from individuals, to make sure that our environment is brought back to life. The demarcation aspect, as I said, is going to go on. Thank you so much.
Okay. Can we clap for Komoko districts? It's great commitments, and I will be looking forward to see them implemented and also following it up. Let me cross over to you, since you're neighbor to Komoko, Maracha district, that's the chair border. Yes, what are the commitments as the district?
Thank you. The commitment of Maracha, we need to give out the seedlings so that we plant the trees. We need to lobby for Maracha. Since we don't have these refugee settlement aspects, some NGOs, we don't have much on NGO thing. It depends on the little they allocated for the office. The ministry, you need to load from the ministry through different NGOs which comes through them, of which they should see the impact of this refugee settlement district to us, especially the trees. These refugee settlement districts, they get some calls from Maracha. So such NGOs should see how they can also this cause they can impact on Maracha and how they can give a positive effect by allocating some money.
Okay, and those the commitments I've captured. Seedlings given out of seedlings, then lobbying for more funds of course through the ministry and all that intervention. Let me come to the city of mighty ideas, opportunities, our city. What are our commitments to make sure at least we start doing these things and prevent what we fear most, or what is affecting us most? Yes, you must remember.
I think starting from here, the information we have got here, I think we shall have to disseminate them to the community. First of all, to the leaders. Hopefully, my worship, the mayor is here. We shall go and disseminate the information to them, and also emphasize the need to act on the issues of climate change. On our other programs, we have the issues of protection of fragile ecosystems, the riverbanks, the swamps, and what have you, which we shall continue with. And also, as I mentioned, we just needed the support in collecting data on natural resource use in the city in order to guide the community to protect the resources we have in the region. And also we have plans of enforcing, we have plans of developing a strategy for sustainable waste management. You know, waste management also impacts. If if you don't manage it well, it emits the greenhouse gases. So we have programs for that one which we need to undertake. Control of pollution, we are also going to do it, and then these structures which we have on the areas which are already marked, we want to talk to these people to at least move away from there because it is affecting the wetlands. We have the work plans and activities. We are hopeful that this will get some funding. We shall implement, and then we shall see changes in the city. I think the most important thing which we needed to do is, like my colleague mentioned, the mindset change of the community here. You know, in town here, if you organize a meeting and you don't provide for some long breakfast or some takeaway, at the end of the day, no one will attend your meeting. So it is a very big challenge. I don't know how we can help it. Our elders are here. They can guide. Maybe I don't know what we can do. It is a very big challenge. That's why we are crying for resources in order to organize those meetings. In town here, people survive with their daily things. You go out, you get, and you survive. If you bring the person and you keep him here without giving him something, the next day he will not be there.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I want you to join me, and we congratulate our panel. It's not easy sitting in front, especially when their bosses are there, but just to be sure, I want to know if all these commitments are made.
Actually, it is, as they stated, it's the forest officer that handles clearances. But the law is very clear. If the law comes from outside the country, like, for example, Congo or South Sudan, we're supposed to charge 1% of what has been brought into the country as a royalty fee to the district of entry, as it's going to be treated as a local revenue for that district of entry. But if it is within the district, automatically you have to first seek guidance from the first person, the H1 of that place where the tree or the log is before you do anything. Then after, you now move like this up to the district until you get all those clearances, then you can cut. If not that, you're not allowed to what? Cut. And then recently, the permanent secretary had issued a statement that there is no any cutting and transportation of charcoal or let me say any forest product apart from honey and fruits. So from that time, I have seen that at least the number of vehicles have reduced, more especially Koboko. Because you know Koboko is at the border of Congo and South Sudan.
Yes.
So it is really very, very, that business was there. But now, when we compare it to the months that have gone, we have seen at least with that statement that was issued, we have seen that a bit reduced.
Thank you. So, one or two other people, I take that hand, I take this one. The hands, I know the discussions will not end. Okay, also, we can also give a chance for the journalists to say something. Okay, in
something
1 minute.
About the finances.
In 1 minute, yes.
Yeah. Mr. Organizers, in fact, the people who allocate our resources at the national level are members of parliament. Now you can see how pertinent the discussions here are, which actually meant that if members of parliament were here to listen, then they will take issues on which they will deliberate in parliament, and one of the key functions of an MP is allocating budget, national budget. And therefore they will look at climate change and the environment as the real issues for which funds should be allocated. That's one of the submissions I wanted to make. And the second one is civic education. Without civic education, nobody would know what we are talking about, because this is an issue. It's an academic issue. It is a scientific issue. It is a research issue. The common man needs to be sensitized through civic education. I thought these are the two issues that I didn't want to leave untouched.
Thank you so much. We are going to invite you for a serious civic education this evening, especially you and some other people. Yes.
Thank you very much, moderator, members present, and then protocol observed. As I introduced myself initially at round one, I'm here to represent my district environment officer of Congo. That I have one specific issue I wanted to bring forward to this gathering. Having lived in Kampala sometimes back in the 90s, and having done some little research on data collection in the sewerage system in Kampala City, especially the central Kampala, which formerly was occupied by the Asians and the foreign citizens in the city. Before the Asians were expelled, you know, they were the ones occupying those lucrative flats within Kampala Central. After their departure from Kampala Central, the housings were established or were occupied by the citizens of Uganda. Two different cultural, traditional system of occupiers. In terms of population on the ground of the occupiers, and in terms of the eating habits, so much so that without extended family relationship, Africans who occupied those flats started causing problems in those flats. Sewerage corporation became a problem. Sewerage breakage within the city became an issue. Once Kampala is smelling from morning up to evening. If you want to get fresh air, don't pass your time within Kampala City. I don't know how it is these days. But I have been placed since 2007. Now, my reflection is about the forthcoming cities as an environmental educator. The forthcoming cities are rural in particular, where I am right now. You see these kind of structures coming up. I don't know how the environmental officers, especially health environmental officers, have in place to ensure that don't experience what we have experienced in Kampala due to sewerage issues. There is an environmental issue and environmental health. At the start, I believe something is being done since we have the city environmental officers here. I believe something is being done by environmental health officers in as far as sewerage is concerned in the city. Thank you.
Thank you for that submission. This time around, a journalist. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Journalists, we're also citizens, and our voices do matter. Thank you. My name once again is Mahajuk. I work with WestNile TV. I would like to first of all appreciate our elders for having spoken very, very profoundly. Basically, I have two issues that I would like to put forth, and that is basically about climate change. One of them being the issue of mindset change. Our leaders are crying out that they're going to have mindset change, but I think first of all they need to change their mindset towards the people that they intend to have an impact on. First of all, since the beginning of this particular workshop began, there has been a lot of negativity towards young people. We're actually treating the young people as a demographic nuisance as opposed to using them as social capital, because that is the tool that is very needed, especially within the leadership circles, especially to push the agenda of climate change in this particular region. And I think one of the issues does emanate from the fact that we are not using a bottom-up approach instead of using a bottom-top approach, or using top-bottom approach. That's why the issue of finances does come in left and right. But otherwise, I think if we stop treating the climate change agenda as something ceremonial or as a ceremony where we need to provide soda for people, things can change. But as long as we keep carrying on with that mindset, it becomes very, very difficult. One of my elders did mention another critical issue about research. Actually, both of them did mention, ARCOD and Twaweza. They did mention an issue of research. I think scientists have given us about 200 years before the curtain falls on human civilization if we're going to move on at this rate in which we're moving as far as climate change is concerned. So we don't have time. I think what we need to focus more has to be on research and innovation. The media, we as journalists, we do pledge to work with you as non-governmental organizations, as all actors and stakeholders in the fight to keep a greener city, a greener region, and a greener country, and a greener world at that. We have government hours. Are you taking advantage of these hours? I work with WestNile television, but I never see anyone. I saw Mr. Ferwa once. He came there, I think on World Rhino Day or something like that. He has been taking advantage of the airtime that we have. Government has allocated airtime. You don't need to look for money to go and pay a radio station. There's always a government hour being provided. We need to take advantage of these channels so we can be able to disseminate the information. And then I think I would like to conclude by saying that let us not put too much hyperbole in this issue of climate change. The war is at the grassroots. It is not with the government. It is not at the top. The war begins down here. I want to give a typical example. Ever since I was in primary and I reached the age of comprehension, as you're going to Onduparaka on your right, there is a particular area there where they have been burning tires for decades. And if you're going to do research and compute how much gases have been emitted that affect the environment,
True.
It's just mind-boggling to even imagine how much is being consumed. But that tire has been burning and it continues to burn. You wake up at 6 a.m. at 5 a.m. during dawn, you'll see a black smoke. What kind of fund do you need to go and put this to an end? The issue is down here. Let us not turn this whole climate change into a ceremonial thing. It isn't. It begins down here, and I think with whatever resources or the envelope we have, there is still so much impact that we can have. So thank you very much.
I'm ready to come and use the rest of the hours.
Access to information, very important. CSOs, other development partners, government, there is availability of airtime free, government sponsored at least WestNile TV. Okay? No, in particular, is communicated particularly TV. Yes. So there is someone who's invested in this. Yeah. This will be the second lesson. After here, I'm taking one other, and that will be the last.
Yes, thank you. I observe the protocol. Automatic, when they start talking about climate changes, you know, people will just think that, okay, their mindset will only go on afforestation. But mainly they are blaming the youths and the government. But my question is, who is the government? And who are those youths that you are blaming? Aren't you a youth before? Now, aren't you a government? You know, when we just set our mind that someone should be responsible for this, so we are now going downward. We are now going downwards. So it means we have to change our attitude. We have to change our mindsets. You know, people think now, they were saying that many youths are now reluctant. They're just shitting on the roadsides. Yes, I really believe. But the major problem with the youths of Uganda is just they want ready thing. They are just looking for opportunities. They don't want to be job creators. You know, if you really have the knowledge of creating job by yourself, like myself, I want to be a herbalist in tomorrow, not today. Which means I have to plant the trees like, I have to start planting trees like mahogany, mvule, things like Prunus africana, things like Wambugia ugandanensis. Yeah, I have to start planting them right now. Or if you have a plan of becoming a boss in the future. Okay, if I want to do something like processing a juice, which means I have to start planting trees like mango, jackfruit, those things. And then you see in Uganda that mind is not there.
Now, who will be the one to change the minds of the youth?
It should be the parents. Like, I am a parent. I will tell my child that after completing a school, you have to do this. Not that you have to go and look for opportunities. You have to study and work in government office. That is the only thing. Many people just think that after completing a school, you have to work in a government office, and that is the major thing which is just killing the youths, because they are yet waiting for the opportunities to come.
Now, also you are a youth. What can you do as a youth? Leave alone the issue of the parents. Now, you as a youth, what can you do?
Yes.
Or what have you done to change the minds of your colleagues?
Yes, I've already joined the group.
Because remember, our colleagues said it starts with us. It is not the government, it is us, the youth. Okay, you are the youth also.
Yes,
so
thank you for that question. Actually, myself, I've read we have actually, we have struggled actually in our village. We formed a group, we are just 15 in that group, and as I'm talking now, we have already planted 120 Prunus africana in our village. That is just in a word.
Congratulations.
And we are still continuing, and we also want other youths in other parish or in other village to do what we are really doing. So I think by that we will sense this we will sense the attitude and their mindsets of the other communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm seeing more hands. Kindly, I'm requesting kindly, if possible, let us end it there. We're going to extract some